Hi, it's Richard at Richard's Guitars, and today I've got a really exciting video to show you. It's all about Rikki and John going through our Legend pedals, experimenting and finding sounds that suit Rikki with his style of music. His style is kind of rock blues. I'd call it vintage era, around about the 60s kind of stuff, I suppose. And I really hope you enjoy watching John help Rikki find a sound that suits him. Okay, enjoy the video. Cheers. Bye.
Hello, it's John
and Rikki
at Richard's Guitars. Oh, it was Rikki's birthday this week. Happy birthday,
it was.
Rikki.
Thank you,
John. And his birthday present from Richard was that he had his pick of the SMJ pedal line, which we haven't done many videos on yet, and they're going to happen. But so Rikki's picked some, but the other day you said you wanted me to go through a load of pedals and stuff with you.
Yes, indeed.
So he can get the sounds of people that he likes and that kind of thing. So we're going to do that. So yeah, I've got next to me here. I think you can see it. I've got basically every single one in the range. We'll go through it. I'll explain some to you and see what you think.
Yeah.
Hopefully find a load of sounds that you like. Anyway. That's right. So you've got your Strap.
I do indeed.
Is there anything in particular you want to start with?
Should we just start with one of the drives?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything.
We've got quite a nice range of drives, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
So for what it's worth, we're going into the Yellow Rock, and Rikki has set the EQ.
EQ.
Rikki set the EQ relatively flat.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah, flat.
Fine. So a relatively flat EQ on a Tweed style amp that's solid state, but sort of has a bit of valve emulation-y stuff. I might come and wave them in the camera actually, just for fun.
Yes.
We've got two that emulate amps. One of them is called the Amp Drive, and one of them is called the Full Drive. The Amp Drive is basically Richard's favourite kind of amp in a box, which is a Tweed amp in a box.
Okay.
So that's good for sort of bluesy cleans and stuff like that. So that both of these will work well for the kind of thing you do. You've got your bluesy stuff and you've got your sort of more rocky kind of sounds. When you're gigging, do you do more of the lighter blues stuff or more of the classic rock sounding stuff?
Well, it depends
Or is
really,
it
because
both?
when it's just me and Ty gigging, we do quite a bit of bluesy stuff more. But when with the band, obviously, it's actually more rock-based stuff.
Okay. I think we'll start with the Full Drive in that case. The Full Drive is a Marshall in a box kind of thing. That's clean.
And that's just on the neck pickup.
Okay. So I'll put you on. So that is with the gain about a quarter of the way up.
This would suit the song bars very nicely in the chorus section.
So yeah, that was gain about quarter of the way up. You can have it lower than that. Do you want it a bit lower than that? See what happens. Or was that sort of a comfortable place for the kind of thing?
That's quite comfortable there.
It's because it's even quarter of the way up. That's got quite a bit of grit.
Yeah.
And it's a proper like it's a classic rock kind of sound.
It really is.
You can push it further. You can get into more 80s kind of more saturated kind of big Satriani kind of stuff and that Eddie Van Halen kind of sound as well.
Yeah.
But I really like it here.
Yeah.
Because it works for the kind of thing you do.
Yeah,
most
absolutely.
of the people that you like listening to play big Marshall stacks that were about this kind of gain level when they were playing. It's a starting point.
Yeah.
What next?
Nice. All right. Well, let's have a look at let's see the difference between. So that was the Full, yeah.
Yeah, that was a Full Drive.
So let's see how the Amp Drive, sort of with the same settings, sounds against that Full Drive.
Which will be a bit lighter, a little bit more tweedy sounding, which is it's very thick, sort of very warm. So it's a Tweed kind of amp sound.
Oh, I like that.
Which not as aggressive and in your face as a Marshall kind of tone.
Yes.
A little bit smoother, quite compressed, but sort of thick. It's weird because this kind of drive obviously originates from Fender and their Tweed amps and stuff like that. There are loads of Tweed amps out there nowadays. Dumble are probably the most expensive and most sought after. But I don't know. It's weird because Fender are known for their cleans, but but then people like Clapton and a lot of really big names got the sound, that thick, really overly compressed kind of distortion sound from Tweed amps, which this can do. I've got it at the same settings as the last one was at.
Perfect, yeah, that's perfect.
So
I like
tone and volume are at 12 o'clock.
Yep.
And then we were about a quarter of the way up on the gain, so this could probably be very, very clean.
Okay. Oh,
switch as well, which is fun.
Okay, let's see the bright.
Give you a bit more snap in your lead, I imagine.
A little bit of roll off of that. I like that very much.
That's about
I'm starting to sweat, John.
It's quite warm.
I think it's just the pedals that are getting me all excited.
So, what do you think? Full drive, amp drive? Both.
Oh, yeah, what's that again?
So that was the amp.
I like the full drive, but I think for like a certain thing, for big sort of strumming, big choruses, I think, and I love that for just that sort of bit more.
It's got a bit more. I think it's got a bit more subtlety to it.
Yeah, I think that one takes a slight edge from
it.
Just
so
for the
We'll keep that on your board. I've taken up one of your slots with a tuner, I'm afraid.
That's fine.
Because everybody has to have a tuner. I'm going to mute you for a second. So we've got your amp drive in. Anything else?
Okay,
we'll stick in the realm of overdrive still for now.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, we can categorise.
Because I think for the kind of thing you do, especially if you're using the amp drive, it's worth having another something in front of it.
Yeah.
To push it.
Okay.
Because that's how most of the players that you like did it, basically.
Okay.
They'd have a massive stack of some form, or a big Vox that like lots of valves that are really, really loud, and then they'd have something in front of it making it even louder kind of sounds.
Cool. Yeah.
So I think if you're using the amp drive to kind of get that ampy kind of tone, having something in front of it just to really put a boot up its bum kind of thing, to push it further will work. And there's a lot of options. There's the tube drive, there's the boost drive, and there's the treble. I think the treble will work.
Yeah, let's hear it with the treble in there. Yeah, because I know
have you tried the treble yet?
I haven't. No, which I'm really excited to hear it in front of that amp drive. Is that the amp drive? Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So people like Tony Iommi and Jimmy Page. I recently checked that Richie Blackmore did, and I know you're a big Blackmore fan.
Also treble boost, yeah.
Brian May is a really, really well-known one. All use treble boosts in front of really loud amps to get a lot of what their sound was. And I think a lot of people associate that kind of era and that kind of sound with just a massive Marshall stack that's being really driven, and that's it. But a lot of the time, the reason it was really, really driven was because it had a treble boost in front of it.
Yeah.
Like Tony Iommi had his massive laney stacks and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and then he'd have a treble boost in front of it.
Oh, look at that focus! That's amazing. Cool.
So yeah. So that's the treble boost. The nice thing about this is there's a lot of flexibility. So you've got a volume, you've got a boost, which is the actual drive, I think. The volume is kind of getting everything at unity gains.
Yeah,
if you've got a few different stages, then you fiddle with that. So I might have to do a bit of that while you're playing. But
that's fine.
and then you've got the tone, so you can kind of tame that brightness.
Yes, of course.
So if you roll that back, it'll probably start acting a little bit less like a treble boost and more like just a boost with a little bit of push in the top end. So that's without the bright switch on the amp drive.
One more time. I like that.
There's a mid switch as well, which means you can bring a bit more mids in as well. But I've kept that normal. Okay. So it's got a bit more of that traditional simple treble boost kind of thing.
Let's see the difference quickly between the so
what you after?
Just the normal one, just a quick little lick with that, and then the mid boost.
Then with the mid boost.
Yeah.
So this is normal. And this is mid boost.
Yeah.
Little bit more sort of because it's obviously pushing the mids. You're getting a bit more low mids.
Yeah.
While the treble boost is just all high
all
mids.
The highs, I really
highs.
like that.
Which is it's a very, very vintagey kind of edge, that bright trebly kind of thing. And it just works. Doesn't it? It's nice.
It works really well.
There's a reason everybody did it. So that's the treble. Do you want to try any other of the drive with that, or are you happy with them as they are at the moment? There's the tube drive, which is I'm not gonna mess around. It's a Tube Screamer clone. So mid focused. Very big mid hum. Obviously the most well known overdrive on earth. Used in a lot of metal. But it's not a metal pedal. Stevie Ray Vaughan played one, and his was obviously used to push his amp. We thought there was no point messing around with this. In all the descriptions, everybody knows what something is when you're calling it something. Tube something.
Yes.
If it's got green on it and it says tube on it, it's 90% likely to be a Tube Screamer clone. So I'll swap this out for the treble. Tube drive, I'll put you back on the amp drive as it is again for now. You ready?
Yep.
So that's your core sound. I'm going to put you on my usual setting.
Okay.
Which is gain at quarter of the way up and volume 3/4 of the way up. So
Okay.
whenever you're using pedals like these, a lot of people worry about that volume increase, but that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
it's one of those sort of. Do you think anybody that was using this kind of thing in Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and stuff, do you think they were worried about the volume increase? Probably not. Obviously, that's not always ideal when you're using an amp and you've got the baby in the house or your wife is trying to go to sleep. So you do have to be sparing with this kind of thing. But to get the most authentic kind of sound, obviously you will see a bit of volume increase. Because that volume increase is what's pushing the amp.
Yes, exactly.
What's pushing the amp drive.
definitely.
That's a nice combination.
Woo!
I'm gonna
Real push.
I'm gonna fiddle things around a bit. I'm gonna
So
put you back at 12 o'clock on the volume.
Okay.
Put the gain 3/4 the way up.
Okay, so that's just gonna
so
really.
you can see the difference. I didn't realise as well. This has a boost switch, which I think is something that some modders do to tube screamers, and it just gives you a little bit more welly. Basically, it's like it's just pushing the mids a little bit further.
Okay.
That was on that first time round.
Was it? Yeah.
So I'm going to keep it on now just for comparison's sake. This particular iteration of this kind of pedal, I actually really like the boost switch on most of the time anyway.
Okay.
Whenever I'm setting things up for Richard, it's always on.
Yeah.
That setting I just gave you is pretty much how Richard has most of his drive sounds. The core of Richard's video drive sounds are the amp drive. At about the same place you've got it, maybe a little bit less gain, so it's a bit cleaner.
Yeah.
With the amp drive, with the tube drive, sorry, pushing that with a lot of volume but not a lot of gain.
Yeah.
But this, just for comparison's sake, this is it with a bit less gain, with more gain, less volume. Thick. Didn't touch the tone knob at all in between changes as well.
So that was just there.
So that was just at 12 o'clock. Obviously, a lot more gain. That when you did that power chord around there,
yeah,
that's when you just instantly went. That's the
That was-
big cream kind of like that thick,
definitely,
like early Clapton kind of
Yeah,
distortion. Do you want to give the fuzz a whirl while we're here?
yes, please. Let's give it a go.
Why not? Because fuzz is fun. I'm going to try and keep the volume relatively low. I'm going to keep the amp drive on because that's an important part of your sound.
because that's what's going to be. Yeah.
I'm just going to go fuzz into amp drive to start with. But I think a sound that will be useful will be the tube drive after a fuzz, which is what I do. So my mid boosting overdrives after all my fuzzes. Because when you use a fuzz, you're getting a hell of a lot of low end kicking you in the bum.
Yes, of course.
Which again, if you're playing with a band, when you're playing with Ty, if you want his bass to sound like a bass, you don't want to have too much low end because otherwise you're going to tread on his toes.
Muddy enough.
So having something that's got a little bit of a mid hump like a tube drive afterwards just helps give you a little bit more, and it just helps even things out a bit better, and soften things up. And it sounds weird adding a drive after something to clean it up, but that's a good way of putting it. So it does it rounds things off a little bit. It tames the fuzzy edges of the fuzz a bit. And you just get that very. So Dave Gilmour did it. A lot of the solo in Comfortably Numb, for example, the opening to In the Flesh, and I could probably sit here and list about 1 million songs from The Wall because it's The Wall.
And it's all using fuzz.
A lot of it's using a big muff. So Dave Gilmour's big and that really low endy kind of sound. It's a fuzz pedal with a drive after it.
Wow, cool.
And I don't, a lot of people know it, but then also a lot of people don't. Like Rich, for example, he didn't know that's because when I was talking to him about how much I love fuzz pedals, because I do, he was, and I started showing him it. I had to almost sort of sneak it into the board when he was playing. When we were trying the pedals, I just sort of snuck it in and said, "You'll like this, I promise," and put the drive after it. And I was like, honestly, this will get you that Gilmour-y kind of sound. With a delay and a phaser and and stuff like that. And he sort of had one of those moments where you go, "Oh my god, that is it!" Because that fuzz gives you a really unique kind of low end that you don't get out of just having drives.
Yes,
So
You don't
Anyway.
necessarily have to have it super
No,
fuzzy. Yeah.
you don't have to have it really, really nasty and really, really
Yeah.
in your face.
Just
I
gives you
just
that
encourage
unique
people
glow
to because I'm a
Because you're a
lunatic.
fuzzhead.
But no, this cleans up really nicely actually. So right, I'll get you into it. So this is your amp drive. Slap the fuzz in. Again, this is going to get really nasty.
Yes.
It already started doing that thing where it
That-
starts sounding like it's really struggling.
It's gonna
a-
break. I love that.
It's such a great sound, but it's to be used in moderation. I
Yes,
think.
of course.
There's a great one of my favourite guitar players of all time is a guy called Mike Minart who plays. It's impossible to describe the kind of player he is.
Yeah.
But he uses a lot of that really gated and really sort
Yeah.
of Velcro-y kind of fuzz, and the way he does it is mad, but he uses it sparingly. Like it can.
Yeah,
it's
of
great
course.
on bass actually.
Oh,
If you-
really?
yeah, that with bass, because bass is so rhythmic.
Yeah.
That kind of sound almost gets rhythmic because it's
Wow,
sort of
yeah.
They call it gated because it sounds like you've got a noise gate on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's just sort of giving up on itself very swiftly.
Wow, so you play that with the
that kind
bass
of
guitar
yeah.
as well.
You have to be careful with fuzzies on bass because they can get really wild.
Yeah,
But yeah, you should get Ty to try it.
I'm going
The
to tonight.
days when you don't, the days when you fancy using a treble boost on your board instead of the fuzz, just give Ty the fuzz and see what lunacy you can come up with.
Absolutely, I'm going to try that tonight actually.
Yeah, so that would be so do it because it honestly fuzz on bass as well opens a new world of sounds, and it was I don't know if it was that done. It must have been done a lot in the 70s and 60s and stuff. I think.
I think so
Because
too.
fuzzes
Yeah,
were
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
But I don't think it's not something you pick up on as much. Obviously,
Yeah.
there's more modern bands like Royal Blood and a lot of weird doom metal bands and stoner bands and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
use a lot of fuzz
A lot
on
of
basses.
fuzz in their basses.
But
Yeah.
but I think all of the really well-known stuff is not really. It's a lot of the time it's overdrive rather than fuzz.
Yeah.
Because I even thought the bass player from Biffy Clyro used fuzz, but he doesn't. He just uses a drive.
Drive. Cool.
Because it still gets you a bit of thickness. But because fuzz is obviously so focused in the lows and highs and so scooped, slapping that on a bass,
Yeah,
it just
works.
gets really,
Yeah.
really filthy. It's
Yeah,
the best
that's
way of
cool.
putting it.
I like that.
I'm going to put you into that with the settings that we just had.
Okay.
I'm going to. We're back. So
Whee!
let me just plug myself back in again like a robot.
Plug yourself
did-
in, Johnny boy.
Let me put the flippy dippy back.
So,
So I'm going to. Where were we? So fuzz. I'm going to put you with the tube drive on the fuzz. I'm going to keep the tube drive high volume, low gain, because that really big, thick, creamy kind of sound. With a fuzz, things could probably get a bit upset.
Okay.
I think it would just get a bit too much. So
Yeah.
sort of a slightly lighter sound from the tube drive is going to be the way to go, I think. The fuzz, obviously, it's just going into that. I've not got it full. I've got it about quarter of the way up. So
Okay.
you're just going to, hopefully, you should just get a little bit of a boost in the low end, and that sort of thicker, smoother kind of
yeah.
sustained. So this is the tube drive.
doesn't it? Yeah, it's quite nice, especially.
With some fuzzies, you get that really woolly string hitting kind of sound.
Yes, yeah, but that kind of brings that. Because I think just the fuzz would be nice for like a heavy sort of rhythm, a rhythmic thing, and then when going into like a lead, then hit that tube drive just to really pull that fuzz up. That's wicked.
I'm going to tell you how to play something.
Yeah.
Can you play like a light fingerstyle kind of chordy kind of thing?
Yeah.
Not like a bluesy kind of fingerstyle thing, not the kind of thing that I do.
Like a bluesy kind of thing, huh?
Yeah. So I asked you to do that. It's quite a common thing in a lot of more modern bluesy kind of bands. I think Jack White did quite a bit of this as well, is using a fuzz but not using it in that really just whack it and go do kind of sound. More for getting sort of a little bit, getting a little bit more meat and just something really like soft and woolly and cushiony.
Yeah.
It's good for that kind of thing. Towards the end, what I was doing was turning the volume of the amp drive down.
Yeah.
Just to kind of bring it back a little bit and get a bit more softness because it was still a bit gnarly.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, that was the fuzz all the way down.
Really? No way.
So yeah, I think that's fun. So you do need a fuzz. Everybody needs a fuzz.
Everybody needs
a fuzz. So we'll move on to some of the modulations. You're not a big modulation boy, are you? So this will probably be fairly quick. I know you wanted to look at Flanger because
yes, because that kind of interests me. Because I know you're not the I suppose it's your style though.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see if you can change my mind. I'm more of a chorus man than the Flanger man.
I've actually got a song which we wrote a while ago, which I always used to play on a flanger, and I think it just works really well with that song. So what have we got on that flanger one?
So you've got a range, a rate. There is a filter mode, which I assume means you're going to get more of that sort of really filtery sweep, and a colour.
That's great.
I'm going to keep you on the amp drive.
Okay.
Just
of
see
course.
what happens. That's exactly what I was expecting. So I'm going to turn your rate down. Wow, okay.
Oh, see, that's quite nice. So that works for this. Wow. Is that clean with the flanger?
That's completely clear. That's just the amp and the flanger. Let me see if I can get it.
Sounds nice. That's what a flanger's like. It sounds like a flanger should.
Sounds really nice on clean. I don't know. Flangers are always a weird one for me because they just sound like an aeroplane taking off. That's smooth though.
But so what was that we had now? Just basically just a little bit of the amp drive.
Yeah, so to start with, it was literally just the amp when I went clean.
Yeah,
and then I brought the amp drive in just to get a bit
which
more
I
volume
really
and a
quite
little
like
bit.
though.
It had a tiny bit of gain. So you can see when you sat down.
And then so just a bit of colour, a quarter on the colour. Not much range.
So yeah, you've got a little bit of colour.
Range. And then you were going to talk about the phaser pedal as well.
Oh yeah, we'll do the phaser first.
Okay.
There's the phaser. So same as the tube drive, I'm not going to beat around the bush.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the MXR Phase 90?
No, not entirely. I've probably heard it a million times.
It's orange. It has one knob, and it's one of the most well-known phasers that exists. This is inspired by this. Surprisingly, we picked the colour for the front as orange. A little bit of a history lesson. This has, because it's such a simple pedal, if you go and wave that in the front, it's got one knob and it's got one switch.
Speed. And then you got the vintage or the modern on the top there.
The speed knob does what it says, controls the speed of the phase. And the vintage and modern thing, basically, the MXR Phase 90 has two versions. There's one called Script and one called Block, which is based. This is a really weird way of. Well, it's not, but it's a way of identifying them based on the text on the front. If it's Script, then it looked handwritten. If it was Block, then it was Block printed on.
Okay.
So it's kind of a way of identifying the era of phase that it was, because there were slight differences between them.
Yeah.
Vintage and modern is the same thing. So the vintage is the Script, which is again the one that people used in the 70s, and the modern is the more modern one, which is a little bit more in your face, a bit more obvious, a bit less subtle, and a little bit less warm.
Yeah.
But really spacey. I'm going to put you in front to start with.
Okay.
Again, because that's where I'm most familiar with this kind of pedal. And then if you want to hear at the end as well, I shall put you at the end. But it looks like we're essentially putting together, especially with the fuzz in this at the moment, putting together a very much a psychedelic kind of rock kind of board that you can use for blues. So this is very, very subtle at the moment. What's nice is when it's here, because you've got your amp drive on at the moment, although it's so clean, but it's not doing that thing that I think some people expect phasers to do, which is just make it sound like it's going wee wee.
Yeah, no, I don't want that really. Yeah, you just want that.
It's just adding a little bit of movement that just makes it sound really lush and sort of alive. I'm going to throw you off now. I'm going to add this. Just that.
Yeah, so see what you mean. muscle.
Yeah, it's a little bit less in your face.
But it does work nice for just chords.
It's like chorus. But the thing is, this plays really nicely with big distortions and stuff.
Yeah.
So if you were playing a big sort of speedy lead line or something with a fuzz on. It's adding texture.
Yeah.
Which, although fuzzies are very textured anyway, but it was used a lot. Again, it's always a term I use, which is movement with this kind of thing. It just adds a little bit of movement. Because when you've got something like a big distortion sound or a boosted lead sound, there's not really any way you can go after that.
Yeah, true.
But adding, like, if you're in the middle of a phaser and you've just got this really big bit coming up, or in the middle of a solo, sorry, and you've got a really big bit coming up, and you just want to really take it up to another kind of thing, slap the phaser on for a second, do like a Mark Knopfler widdly bit.
Yeah.
And that'll it's just another texture added to it to make that little segment just
stand
seem
out
a little bit more epic.
I like that. I'm a big fan.
I think it's another Gilmour thing. Obviously. I don't even listen to that much Pink Floyd. For some reason, I always talk about it. He has his in front of all of his gain stages, and I think it was just when I was first starting out with pedals and stuff, and I got sort of a Phase 90 because I was like, oh, phase sounds fun. Let's just see what it does.
Yeah.
And I started reading about it, found out Dave Gilmour uses it.
Yeah.
And that's when I read that he puts it in the front and it keeps it subtle. And I was like, okay, I did think it was a bit too wild when it was after everything.
Yeah.
So I tried it, and I pretty much always put phases at the front now. But with the kind of music you do, it's very, very, there's a lot of textures that you can do, a lot of experimenting that you can do, that sort of subtle little things like that just add a lot to what you're doing.
Especially when because a lot of our songs, they're broken up into lots of little sections. So when you've got that really sort of section that slows down a lot, it's nice to have that there just to like space it out a little.
Yeah, that's it. So if you've got like a random clean section in the middle of one of your songs, then you can sort of have a little bit of phaser on. You can put the phaser on relatively low and just keep it sort of just to add that sort of curve.
Yeah.
So I think we're there. So the Rikki board is a phaser. You've got a fuzz, tube drive, amp drive, and then the flanger. You usually play with a Strat. And that's that.
Lovely.
So I think
Thank you, John.
So that's your settings. So you're there. Hopefully they all work nicely in your amp.
Thank you. I'm sure they will. I'll try them out tonight, and I've got a few other options, so I shall experiment. But thanks, John. That was amazing, man. I feel like I've been just...
You've had a lot of information into your brain.
I was going to say swamped, but I feel really good about it. I've just said loads of info, and I feel replenished.
The thing is, a lot of what I've said you don't really need to know, as long as you know what the knobs do, and you know why X sounds
yes,
good
exactly. No, which is great. Thank you.
That's the main thing.
And then obviously I play a lot and feel... obviously being completely self-taught and everything, so I'll just, whatever feels good, I'll be like, yep, that's it.
You've got a nice starting point based on sort of having a conversation about it.
That's it,
And hearing something that you like without having to go through the whole sitting there and fiddling with the knobs.
Yeah, exactly, and it's nice to have that knowledge of like, the amp drive gives more of the sort of tweedy sound, whereas the full drive gives more of the Marshall sound.
So I think having that as a starting point is, because obviously this isn't gospel. Everything I say isn't necessarily gospel.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody has a different experience playing guitars.
Of course.
And it's like learning a new instrument, starting to use pedals. Because it's just a whole different world, especially if you're just used to plugging into your amp and going. So it's a good platform to start and then lift off to.
Yes.
So enjoy.
Thank you, Johnny. Beautiful.
I suppose we should say bye to the camera as well. I hope you enjoyed. Richard will probably trim it down a lot. And,
yeah, he will.
So hopefully you enjoyed it, and it's worth knowing that you can do what we've literally just done. We've spent about an hour and a bit up here talking pedals and getting the right tones, and we offer tone appointments and stuff to do that. So if you
highly
want to
recommend
try some of the pedals and just have a chat about them and what you think might work for you and what I might think might work for you and whether you disagree with me, that'll be fun. Then you can book. We're also offering vouchers that are £250. And that can go towards anything in the shop, but it's basically you saying, I would like to visit. You get a free tone appointment with it, so which means you can bring your amp, bring your guitar. If you're wanting to spend that £250 on pedals, you can. If you want to put it towards a guitar when you're visiting, then you can do that as a separate thing as well and try a guitar. And hopefully it basically just gives you a full experience, which means that you can just sit and talk guitars for a while. See what happens.
Exactly. Who doesn't want to do that?
And that £250 voucher thing, just it's a good way of saying, okay, I'm putting some money in the business.
Yeah.
And I know I want to get something, but I don't necessarily know what. So you can just sit and geek out for a bit, and then we can narrow down exactly what you're looking for, whether it's guitars or whether it's pedals, or both. You never know. And either way, one of us will get you sorted. Rikki's obviously on the front line on the phones every day, all day.
All day,
God
every day.
So yeah, look forward to seeing you soon. Stay safe. Have a good Christmas and New Year and things, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.